Squad 44, or Post Scriptum as it used to be known, has been on something of a journey recently. For a long time it looked like this title, originally released in 2018, was going to fall by the wayside as many titles do. But to something of a surprise, in recent months we've seen large content additions, like a whole raft of vehicles in the Reign of Steel update, and just a few days ago we've seen devs update the game to support up to 100 players per server. But how does the game feel now, and is it worth playing? I'm LCTR. If you're a fan of milsim games, then please do tap the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed the video, the old thumb up button too. I cover a variety of mainly FPS titles. Your support is very much appreciated. Oh, and before we start, in my normal full disclosure way, I want to say that I received a key ages back from the then Post Scriptum devs to allow me to make content about the game. I think it's fair to say that before the name changed to Squad 44, the game was in something of a holding pattern. Well, that's very much not the case now, with regular announcements on their Discord channels, and even a recent tweet saying that they'd hit a major milestone. In just 1 month, our ranks have doubled, say the devs, so player numbers sound like they're heading in the right direction too. Those recent updates included the aforementioned Reign of Steel update, when no less than 40 new vehicles and AT guns were added to the game. And I'll admit that the tanking side of Squad 44 isn't the gameplay I'm normally experiencing. I'm normally a more boots-on-the-ground sort of squad mate. That did all change recently though, when a few friends and I tried tanking for the first time. It's a bit of a rude awakening for new players. As you might expect from a milsim, it's not the Battlefield-like experience of holding W and then swinging your mouse around to fire the cannon. The experience is much more rich and involved than those arcade-focused games. You soon learn that, as with other parts of the game, coordination and communication are the core skills to be effective. All the stations around the tank, and it feels like a crew of 3 to 4 seems to be the sweet spot for many options. They're all limited in their view, unless they choose to stick their heads above the armoured plating. So, as say, the driver, you're relying on your spotters and gunners to keep you informed about the world around, while also managing the main controls. And in this case, you need to balance the throttle to keep the revs up, while shifting gears to get that big lump of metal actually moving. Turning is also a little bit binary and agricultural. Weighty movements need mental planning ahead, rather than just driving by the seat of your pants. And the whole setup feels easy enough to understand initially, but with a nice skill ceiling, enough to make it enjoyable to do a good job at performing the fundamentals well, even if you're not in a direct combat station, like when you're driving. It oddly made me think about Red Dead Redemption, and how they made horse riding feel approachable, but also fun to do well. That communication does mean that voice comms are something of an essential, so as I was playing with friends it was easy, but for those people playing solo I would generally say that the Squad 44 community is pretty talkative and understanding, so as long as you're willing to do your part, I have no problems recommending tanking with random players. The intensity and enjoyment that the infantry side of the game delivers also features while operating vehicles, but obviously in a different way. That limited view and individual player agency means that sometimes there's pressure and some frustration. That is, of course, what makes meshing together with your crew so rewarding when it all goes well. That first enemy tank kill certainly feels hard-won and well-earned. The actual implementation of tank combat also surprised me with how involved and complex it is. I don't profess to be an expert, but seeing x-rays of interior layouts gives the impression that this is firmly on the milsim side, rather than that usual arcade design of front of tank strong, back of tank soft. There are weak points on the particular tank models based off these internal components. If a fuel tank gets hit, there's a chance it'll start a fire, and the fire has the capacity to spread to other components and then do damage. Maybe it reaches the ammo storage and starts to cook off, destroying the whole tank altogether. Or maybe the tank turret collar is hit, stopping the turret from moving, or the tank track is hit, rendering it immobile. Or maybe, well, you get the idea. The skill ceiling is so much higher than you might imagine. Knowing the tank you're operating and fighting against means that you know how to orient yourself and what kind of engagement you might want to get into. On the other side, you'll be fine-tuning your aim to perhaps try and hit a small frontal weak spot with the correct ammo, killing the tank's occupants directly. On finding all this out, I couldn't kind of help feeling that it's perhaps a shame that limited numbers of players can access this part of the game at one time. Obviously there needs to be a cap on the number of tanks per team for very obvious reasons, but I can't help feeling that players who only play infantry, and I was one until very recently, they're missing out on a really fun part of what Squad 44 has to offer. History buffs will be pleased with the spread of vehicles represented in the game too, from Jag Panthers, Shermans, Panzerwerfers, challengers, storm hobbits? Storm hobbits? I don't know. Armored cars, half-tracks, and even tractors. Look, I'd never claim to be an expert, but I know dedication to authenticity when I see it. Frontline Mode is a new addition to the game as well. It's basically something that I should really like, it being somewhat similar to something like Rush Mode in a Battlefield title. One side attacks, the other defends locations that the attackers are trying to destroy. When they do, new targets are shown, and the battle pepper-pots across the map until the final location is destroyed or the attackers run out of tickets. And on the whole, it feels very natural mode for Squad 44. The only real negative came with that, as far as I understand it, a sapper is required to destroy the objectives, so it feels essential to have someone in that role who understands how important they are to the success of the attackers, and clearly, on public servers, that's really hard to ensure. The latest update has increased the max player numbers to 100. This is obviously an improvement, but I'd be lying if I found it to be a monumental change. It's an increase of 25% of the old player cap, but the feeling of scale and being part of something larger was never really something that the game lacked before. I'm happy that the devs feel able to push these limits higher now, and perhaps it'll be even more in the future, but perhaps it's a good bullet point to have in the Steam description to show new players that this game is no slouch. My experience is obviously subjective though, so if you have particularly noticed the increase to 100 max players, then please let me know in the comments. The graphics of Squad 44 aren't being neglected either. It seems to be a real concerted effort to improve and update the visuals of this 2018 title. Older content has been refreshed with lighting and shadows, but even more work has gone into things like scripting additional dummy landing craft to the Utah invasion map to give a greater sense of scale and immersion. This has led to something of an inconsistent feeling at times though. Some areas of maps look really well rendered, up to what you might imagine of a game in 2024, but then others can feel a little long in the tooth. In comparison to a newer title like Hell Let Loose showed that in particular, the general object density of the environment is something that Squad 44 can't really compete with. Take a town street, the number of incidental objects like piles of dirt, sandbags and whatever are just comparatively lacking. This isn't something that can really be fixed with a lighting or shadow work. It's a lot of art hours to dress the world in a believable way, and something that really only a remaster of maps will change. It's definitely not something that spoils the experience of playing Squad 44 though. It's a benchmark that new players will use to judge the game. And on the audio side of Squad 44, it's still an absolute high point. This part of the game doesn't feel like it's from 2018 at all, and indeed, I wager there are many games in 2024 that would envy the immersion and impact that it delivers to player ears. So the ultimate question is whether or not all these efforts mean it's worth checking out Squad 44 in the present day. Well, for those who enjoyed the game when it was named Post Scriptum, you'll know that the game always delivered a rich and enjoyable experience. It's just that it never seemed to find its feet in terms of player base in comparison to some of the larger milsim titles. The infantry experience is rich and rewarding and comparable to anything delivered by other games. That I can also now say that tank and vehicle combat is also at the same caliber means that I'm even more confident in recommending that people jump in. The usual milsim rules of thumb apply: use your mic, communicate, follow orders if you're not in a leadership role, and so on. But if you're from Hell Let Loose or Squad or whatever, you'll be up to speed in no time. Squad 44 is turning the page on that old name and striding confidently into a new phase for the game, and it seems that the community is responding by returning. As someone who's played this title for years now, I'm very happy to see it get a second go around and a chance to show that it really can deliver a unique experience for those players who enjoy a World War II era milsim. And actually, I'd go as far as to say that normal Squad players should try this as well. They'll spot a lot of what they enjoy from that title in a whole different environment, pacing and structure. I said at the start that the devs tweeted about doubling their player numbers month over month. It's really good to see, but it's something that should also be placed in a bit of context with other titles. We're talking recently about peaks of just over 1,000 concurrent players per day. We're not talking Hell Let Loose or Squad numbers, or at least not yet. There's still work to do in a number of areas though. I'd highlight performance particularly as something that even on high-end systems can be an issue. On my slightly older system now, in a busy area, I can certainly see things drop below 60 FPS, which should really be a baseline for PC games. The overall signs are promising though. Feels like a new era for the game, and I'm excited to see what the new development team can do with Squad 44 in the future. So what do you think of Squad 44? Are you enjoying the recent updates? Do you like to drive tanks and are horrified by my aiming skills? Let me know all your powerful thoughts and feelings. You're leaving a comment below right now. And like always, I'll be reading every single one of them. If you did enjoy this video, please do tap that thumb up button and press that subscribe button too. It's free, it helps me out a lot, it lets you know when the next video is ready. Thank you so much for watching and for all your continued support. I'll see you next time. Take care.